welcome back to the Whatnauts Reactor Core number 56. My name is Kyle Springer, and I am joined, as always, by Melissa Wilkinson. Melissa, how's it going?
Hi. It's going fine. How are you this week, Kyle?
Doing pretty good. I'm actually exhausted, but it's a good week. I was off of work all last week, so I had to come back and do all the makeup work and just like nonstop being like, I hate this. But it's good. It's fine. I'm glad I got my vacation in. So that was fantastic. But Melissa, you and I are here to talk all about Eternals, the brand new Marvel movie. We're a little bit later on recording this than what we normally do, but I thought it was still important to get a spoiler cast in on
right.
This.
We don't just do this for you and the audience. We do this for ourselves.
Yes.
I don't know what Kyle thinks about Eternals. He doesn't know what I think about Eternals. Exactly. We're all going to learn today.
Exactly. So Melissa,
yes.
Let me ask you this. As a, I mean, you guys all know we're big Marvel fans here at the Whatnauts. How were you like going into what was your mindset going into this? Because this is a team that I don't know much about.
Yeah, I had watched some breakdowns, trailer breakdown and like speculation videos about this movie, mostly because I think that stuff's interesting in general. Yeah. I feel like it is. I know it isn't for many other people, but for me, like I think it's fun to compare what it looks like a trailer could be versus, oh, this is what the movie actually was. I never feel spoiled for anything. And also I was like, there's so many new characters in this movie. I want to get all their names and faces down. Let me get this into my head early so that when I sit down in the theater, I know that's Makari, that's Druig, that's Gilgamesh, all my friends. I got their names in.
That's smart.
I was excited to get into this because this is an entirely new playing field for the MCU. There has been cosmic stuff, there has been godly stuff, but this was a cast of entirely new characters. I didn't know if there was going to be anything familiar to me in this movie. And I like the fact that even for a franchise that's like 20-something films deep, going into this and then going into Shang-Chi earlier this year, it's like there's still brand new things to show me that have barely been hinted at before.
Absolutely. Yeah, I'm kind of in a similar place. I'm more of the comic book nerd between you and me, but
yeah,
this is a team that I know nothing about. Like I've never read them really. Like maybe they showed up in the background of a panel once and I just didn't know who they were. But I don't know anything about them. So yeah, when they announced that this movie was going to be made, in a weird way, it kind of reminds me of when Guardians of the Galaxy first got announced and was coming out, because same thing. Like for a lot of comic book nerds, there was a lot of people that just didn't know who these characters were. They're like, it's not Spider-Man, it's not Captain America, it's not Iron Man. And so, yeah, I really didn't know what to expect going into this film. And to be honest, that's kind of exciting to have, right, this thing that you said has been going on for like 20-something movies, to be a big comic book nerd and know a lot of the stories that they're pulling from, but then to still have these things that's completely surprising or new is so cool. It's so much fun. So I was excited about this, but just did not know what to expect. Let's see. Let's get a couple stats here. Let's get some stats going. I got the box office mojo pulled up right now. So we are recording this episode on November 16th. It's a Tuesday evening. This came out Friday the 5th, so it's just shy of 2 weeks after it came out here. But domestically, so far it has made 119 million. And internationally, 162 million, and worldwide 282.4 million. So it
Sounds
seems
healthy.
to be doing decently. I know reviews out there were kind of middling, for various reasons too, which we'll get into and stuff like that. But yeah, seems to be doing okay, despite some reviews that might not have been great. I don't think it was breaking any records like, oh, Shang-Chi is the biggest box office release in 2021, or who knows what, but seems to
I don't
be
know what that was.
doing fine.
Yeah. I'm happy for it. It is a great theatrical experience. It was a delight to see up on a big screen.
Yes, absolutely, which I think leads us into our spoiler-free thoughts. What did you think of this? Now that you have seen Eternals, what was your impressions?
I liked it a lot. It really worked on me. I think it's emotionally very compelling. You get introduced to all of these new characters. It's a lot to take in. But the movie is, the lore is less confusing than I thought it might have been. I understood everything. I'm also coming to it as somebody who knows Marvel stuff. I don't know if you showed this to my mom, if the reaction would be the same. But getting introduced to all these new characters, I liked them. I knew them. I was able to pick out these are their personality traits. These are the perspectives they bring to the situation at hand, what side they may be on, why there are different sides and they're not a united front, what everybody's powers are. I loved them. I loved that they loved each other. This is a very warm movie, which is my favorite part of it.
Okay, good stuff. I walked away from this film not confused, not particularly conflicted per se, but just unsure of where I sat with things. It's not your typical Marvel movie. I think this honestly might be the biggest risk that Marvel has taken so far. It's not your standard superhero film. The trailers pretty much showed most of the action of the film, and in fact, we got some action and stuff in the trailers that was not in the movies, or was not in the movie. But I think at its heart, this is a family drama. It is a more emotional, dramatic story that is set on a grander scale, and in an odd way remind me of something it seemed Shakespearean, not in the way that he could take these bigger themes and relate them to common people, but how he had this grandioseness to a lot of his stuff. The stories were sometimes bigger and sprawling, and that I'm not an expert on Shakespeare, so I might be wildly wrong on that, but I think you understand what I'm trying to say.
Yeah, I see that connection. You have a large cast, and a cast that draws from a lot of historical and cultural and literary context and archetypes, and when I name this character this, you know why, and you know what that's supposed to symbolize.
Yeah. And so it was really, really interesting in that regard. And I liked it. I also think it's going to be very important for the MCU moving forward. I think there's a lot of stuff that will call back to this film in a weird way, whether it's the mythology of the Eternals or the Celestials or the Deviants or who's related to who and this and that and all sorts of stuff. I think this will be like a big risk for Marvel that I think if you're tired of the like, it's just another Captain America, another or another Iron Man film, this might be refreshing in an odd way.
Yeah.
But it's also really long, and because there's not as much action, might be a little bit more boring from what you would expect, so could also maybe not sit with you. Like it's really in this weird spot that I think is kind of fascinating.
Yeah, I like that it's weird. I like that it is doing the story that and the tone and the pace that feels right for this group of characters.
Yeah, and I think when I initially walked away, I also was like, this maybe could have been great as a TV show. Like it maybe could have been better to do that, to get to dig in on these characters a little bit more. But the more I sit with it, the more I'm like, you know what? Actually, maybe not. Like I could see the movie maybe being longer, actually, and just like, let's make this a fucking, you need to have an intermission 2 hours in, right? Like
Kingo sings "Let's All Go to the Lobby," yeah.
Right, yeah. Like in an odd way, I felt like it could have been longer, despite it already being like 2.5 hours. Like it's a really long, slow film. But I think it was kind of perfect that it was a movie rather than a TV show. And the more I sit with it, the more I'm like, I think I like this one. I think it's growing on me the more I like think about it and dig in and see how nuanced the performances actually were. It was interesting, but it's not without its flaws. Yeah, so let's see, more final thoughts on Eternals, something else to say on that before we get into spoilers and stuff like that?
It's gorgeous, and like I said, it's a very warm movie. I would like people to know that going into this. It's a movie that's all about these very strong familial bonds between these characters. And there's a lot of like big group dinners and hugging that I enjoyed.
Yeah. Good stuff. Well, with that, we will take a quick break for housekeeping. And then when we get back, we will start breaking it all down and talking about the Eternals a little bit more in depth. So we will be right back. We put a lot of hard work into the shows that we make, and yes, we make multiple different shows here at the Whatnauts, and we'd love it if you would check them all out. You can find out more information on our website at thewhatnauts.com, as well as your favorite podcasting platform of choice. When you type in the Whatnauts, all of our shows will pop up right there. Just don't forget to give us a nice rating and review if you like the shows. If you want to support what we do here at The Whatnauts, patreon.com/The Whatnauts is the best place to do that. You can support us for as little as $1 a month. You can get all kinds of exclusive content at the $3 tier. You can also get a shout out and thank you on all of our shows at the $5 tier. You can support us on Twitch by subscribing to our channel at twitch.tv/The Whatnauts, and we would love to have you all join us for our live streams and talk with us in the chat. And lastly, we have merch. If you want to grab yourself a shirt or a sweatshirt or a mug or something else, go to thewhatnauts.com/store to pick up some merch today. And we are back. A big shout out to all of our Patreon supporters, especially those at the $5 tier. So thank you to Sam for supporting us for so long. We love you a lot. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Cool things that we've been doing here at the Whatnauts. We just covered Flashpoint on the
Yeah.
review show, which is a DC Comics event, which is maybe going to loosely inspire the upcoming Flash movie. We'll have to see how much it ties in, but we wanted to cover that one to have in our repertoire when we discuss the Flash. So you guys can go check that out on the review show. If you like video games, we are almost at our 100th one of crossplay. I think this Saturday will be number 99. And there is a lot of stuff happening in video games, and there was a lot of stuff that actually happened today with Activision and Blizzard and all that stuff, so I'm sure we're going to be talking about that. Halo Infinite released their multiplayer, which was supposed to be out December 8th, but now only the story mode will be out December 8th. There's a new Pokemon game coming out. All sorts of stuff is happening in the video game world. So if you want to hear more about all of that stuff, Crossplay is our podcast where you can go check that stuff out. And I'm excited to get back to the Captain's Log this Friday, because I was out this past week, so we didn't have the Captain's Log like we normally do. So we got some catching up to do on all of that stuff.
Lots of Marvel news to talk about on Friday. We had that Disney Plus day and all that news.
Absolutely.
All those new titles.
Yeah, absolutely. But yeah, I say with that, we should get into spoilers. Okay, here we are in spoiler territory. About to discuss the Eternals. Let's see here. I got my notes here with all of my plot breakdown things. Since it's been so long, I had to look up what's a plot recap, and let me make bullet points off of that.
I don't remember where it starts. I think it starts with all of them in their pajamas in the spaceship, and then Arishem puts like a gold dot into Ajax's chest, and everyone's alive. And they look out onto space, and Icarus is like, "You're beautiful," and Cersei's like, "Hi, I'm Cersei."
Yeah. Let me see. My headphones just messed up here real quick. I'll go back to my headphones. Okay, I should be good now.
Okay.
Yeah, so it starts off actually with a little bit of exposition to be like, this is the purpose of the Eternals.
Yes!
Like it
that title
almost
card
had the like Star Wars scroll thing, but it was its own thing.
I loved it. Excellent text choice. It looked great.
I agree. But then it's what you mentioned, where we get to see the Eternals kind of being given their purpose and being sent to Earth here to be like, this is the planet that you will protect. You will, beat all of the Deviants and make sure that they are not killing all these humans and stuff like that. And the movie kind of returns to these different time periods throughout the film where the Eternals are fighting off Deviants. And that is, at least in the first half of the film, right? That we get these flashbacks of here they are in ancient Mesopotamia, here they are in ancient Egypt, here they are in Africa or Mexico or who knows what. And yeah, I kind of liked these flashback sequences. I feel like we should start with that, since they're sprinkled in and chronologically they start with that there. I liked diving into their pasts and seeing how they dealt with each of these conflicts and how their thoughts changed as time passed and stuff there. It's a good way to kind of dive into each of these characters and just the minds of like, well, Fastos wants to like, hey, here's a steam engine, but it's like, might be a little bit too soon.
Slow down
for that there. Yeah.
Introduce a blade, not blade. That comes later.
Yeah. But yeah, to see how like he's wanting to just be like, but we can do so much. We can help them. Or seeing Druig be like, I can stop them from killing each other. Like I can be the one to like take over their minds and just have them go plant their crops instead, or not get sick, because we know that these things are bad and don't eat those, or stuff like that. Like,
Druig mind controlling somebody just to get them to spit something out of their mouth. Like, don't eat that. Put it down.
He has to be like, Fastos, I have an idea. So I'm thinking this like green, like bright green face with like with a big tongue, like it tastes bad or something. A sticker.
We've introduced all the great technologies to humans. The wheel, the cotton gin, the steam engine, the Mr. Yuck sticker, everything that brought us to where we are today.
Yeah, like they just have all of these small things that I think were interesting to see how they thought, and just how upset Druig got of just being like, why can't I use my powers?
Yeah.
Like, why, like, I was sent here for a reason, and you're not letting me use my powers. And they're like, well, it's against our mission. And it's like, well, then why am I even here?
I'm going to leave.
I thought that stuff was fascinating. Yeah.
I think Druig might be one of my favorite parts of this movie, because I mentioned I was watching all the speculation videos from new rock stars, which I mentioned 5 times every episode where we talk about Marvel stuff. But they were talking about how it looked like he was going to be an antagonist of this movie. Like, he's got that power to control minds. It looks like he splits away from the group. You see the footage of him in the Amazon. They're like, it looks like he's starting a cult of people who will follow Druig and do as Druig does. It made him seem like he was going to be like the villain. And I watched it and I'm like, oh, he's minorly antagonistic in like the first half of the movie, but he's got really good intentions. You really understand where he's coming from. He takes the mind control that he can do on people seriously. It seems like he doesn't do it for anything flippant. When you get to this camp where he lives in the Amazon, which I know is a while from where we are now, but people were analyzing the footage and saying it was a cult, but then you get there, it's like, no, this just seems like a camp where people like work on ecological projects and they're wearing the same outfit because that's just like a work uniform that's easy to clean. And
it is still kind of a cult because it's
cult-y, but it is not overtly a cult, which I found to be a pleasant surprise. It's probably not great, but the fact that I was anticipating this to be a much darker part of the movie than it was, I was delighted at how this was more of a well-rounded, sympathetic character than I had imagined he was going to be when I sat down. That's one of the fun things to me about watching like all the trailers and the trailer breakdowns and the theories and everything, is that sometimes things go in a way I wasn't expecting, in a way that I really like. I like to see how things are different, how you can analyze something, but you don't have all the context, and that character isn't a villain. He's actually one of the heroes.
Yeah, and that's the thing that I like about this movie, is that there are things in here that you can have a stance like that, where it's like, oh, it's not as bad as I thought, but it's also deep enough that you can look into that a little more and actually be like, ooh, yeah, what he's doing there is not a good thing, but he's also like, there is this like like almost sympathetic side of that of like, well, he's also not like, he's not trying to take over the world with this. He just has his little small compound. And if someone happens to stumble on it, he'll like rope them in to be like, oh, mind control you. So this, you know, you can like not spread that there is this, like, there's a god out in the jungle who's doing this, that like, he has both good and bad intentions in the same thing. And I think this movie is filled with that. And you can look at all of these characters and be like, they each have a little bit of good and bad. And it's kind of about how these immortal beings are coming to terms with morality. Of just like, what do we do here? Do we do the right thing? Is this the right thing? What is the right thing on a cosmic scale? And yeah, I thought that was fascinating.
Yeah, but you're right. This is a movie where I was going in like expecting this is a bad guy, and there really isn't any bad guys at the end. And the people who are the heroes do have a lot of sacrifices and harm they have done, and perspective harm. Like this, we don't know for sure, but this could have like galactic shattering ramifications from this. We don't know what's coming down the line. We just have to do what feels the most right now with what we have right in front of us.
Mm-hmm. Let's skip ahead a little bit to modern day times, because it seems in modern day London, that is where Cersei and Sprite are living. Cersei is dating a man named Dane Whitman, who we will talk about a little bit more later on. He's played by Kit Harington, who I have to say, for the first like 20 minutes of the film, maybe the first half an hour, I completely was like, Kit Harington, Richard Madden, same character. Like, just could not tell them apart. They look the exact same. It took me like half an hour to be like, oh, that's two different characters. But yeah, we'll talk more about Dane Whitman in a bit here. But they are attacked by a deviant who they thought, the Eternals thought that they had killed all of them off years ago, thousands of years ago, or hundreds of years ago. I don't know exactly when, but yeah, then they're like, uh-oh, this is not good. And that is when Icarus shows up, and he kind of fights this deviant off. Yep, flies down, uses his little laser beams. He no longer needs his rose quartz glasses to focus them. And he fights off this deviant, but they all notice that it's different from the ones they had fought previously. It was maybe a little bigger. It had a healing factor. It seemed like it had some sort of mission or something. I don't know. But something is strange. So with that, they are like, hey, we need to go talk to Ajak, who is the leader of the Eternals. And they go visit her on her ranch in South Dakota, only to find that she's dead. Bum, bum, bum. So what did you think of the like start of the film so far? Like this opening fight scene, the stuff we got to see of Cersei and Dane together in the classroom, and then our introduction to Sprite.
I like them playing Pink Floyd's Time over the Marvel opening logo, and then over the first scene, which is in London, appropriate. I think that's where Pink Floyd is from. I thought it was a good music choice. I want to say that first off. And another thing I really appreciate about this movie is that there aren't really many secrets. Dane Whitman is there with Cersei and Sprite when Icarus shows up, when the Deviant attacks and they have to fight him off. And Cersei just tells Dane everything. She's like, well, I'm an Eternal. Sprite's an Eternal too. That's, you know, remember I mentioned my ex-boyfriend? That's right. Like, she just tells him everything. And he's like, okay, all right, I can move forward with this. Like, I'm very happy we didn't have to have, like, clearly they've needed to keep secrets throughout history for centuries they have. But I like that this movie took notice of its place in the MCU. Like, look at how many things Earth has already been through. This should be a world where if something odd is happening, people are more likely to just openly share that with their family and friends. They're not really going to be a freak them out anymore.
Yeah, that's fine.
Yeah.
That makes sense.
Yes, I'm familiar with this.
Yeah.
I really like that they just got that out of the way immediately. She tells him everything. He understands it. We understand it.
Indeed. Yeah, I was kind of interested in the relationship between Cersei and Sprite, because it seemed like they were really, really good friends, especially in a time of need, right? I think being immortal beings, that would get very lonely. And so as much as they kind of split up and went their own separate ways, every now and then they'll kind of run into each other, or two of them will go that way and two of them will go over here. And it seemed like they had a good friendship that was kind of forged out of like this strict like loneliness. But I think as the movie continues, you see how much they didn't actually connect in the film. It's something that's not necessarily talked about, but by the end of this film, it is you see, oh, Sprite is in love with Icarus, who is Cersei's ex, but Icarus also ends up being the bad guy of the film, or one of them, and like it breaks the family up, and Sprite sides with him instead. And it is just this idea of like, you guys paired up but didn't really talk about this. Like there was nothing. Like, you guys were so close, you have this strong familial bond, but there's just this one thing that I like you could have talked about. You would think there'd be like some Friday night where it's just they're just like, I don't know what to do, like there's nothing on TV, like, well, what's up with you, like how's your life,
any boys you like?
Yeah, right. So it's just it's really fascinating to see those character and family dynamics there. But I think Icarus is one of the more they're all fascinating in their own way. I keep saying that. But this is something I was not expecting, that Icarus ended up being basically the main antagonist. Or at least on a smaller scale, that he was so into like no, I want to stick with the mission here, and that by the end he's so set on like, no, we need to do this one thing, and everyone else is like, but we're also kind of here to protect the planet, and if we continue with that, the planet will be destroyed, which I'll explain at a bit here. But that was fascinating to see him go through that change. So I like that.
I like I said earlier, he also has a perspective that you understand. You may not agree with it. That might not be what you would do in his superhuman shoes, but it's understandable. It's sympathetic. He's not doing anything out of malice or greed or want of power. He's doing what he thinks is the correct thing to do according to Erishim. He's like, I'm here to do what Erishim says. I believe in Erishim. I'm just going to do it. Then he wanted the leader role over Cersei, not because of any grudge against Cersei, just because he thought she may not be as loyal to Erishim as he is. Yeah, it's like, it's all about Erishim. It's all about whatever he says. Yeah. And I like that, even skipping ahead to the end again, but he has regrets about what he does. Like, there is no hard line anywhere in this movie. Everybody goes one way, but sees and understands the other way that they could have gone, and the other way that their friends are going. Everybody sees a
Yeah.
lot of different sides of things. I like that this is a movie with facets where the characters themselves are aware of the facets.
Indeed. When they find Ajax dead on her ranch, she has this, I guess, like a gem, or it's some kind of device or
Yeah.
something. It's a little bit unclear exactly what it is, but it's a thing.
Yeah.
So I'll
Right,
stick
that's
with
like her
that.
little communicator badge that she uses to talk to Erisham, and it's a glowing orb of light that sinks into her
Exactly.
chest.
When they find her, that goes out of her and then chooses Cersei to be the successor, to be the one to get to commune with Erisham, who it was their handler, so to speak, the
Their
celestial that
creator.
was like, yeah. I guess I say handler in the sense that there are other celestials out there
Yes.
doing the same thing, right? To other groups of Eternals, which is something we learn down the road here. But yeah, it goes into Cersei, and Cersei is I think more similar to Ajax than we know, but I felt like Ajax was maybe the character that we knew the least about. Just because we don't get to see her with the rest of them all that much. We don't get to see her motivations.
Yeah, she is a bit separate. I feel like I did get a solid grasp on who each of these Eternals are, but there are some of them that unfortunately, like Ajax, kind of out of the story as an active participant pretty early. Fastos isn't an active participant until later in the movie. He's like the last person they go and collect on their road trip. I feel like everyone got enough time, but I would have taken a lot more time with any of them. I think they're all pretty interesting for what we do get to see.
Exactly. So after we get that, it flashes back to the 1500s in Tenochtitlan. I don't know how to pronounce that exactly. But this is where we first learn that Thena is suffering from something called mad weary, where it seems like she's losing her memory or just having some mental issues.
She has too many memories. Like her mind's sort of crumbling under the weight of centuries of memories. And she starts sort of repeating these patterns, like thinking she's back in a battle, that everyone is back in danger again. And she'll summon her weapons, and she might, kind of lose her place and fight one of her friends.
Yeah. In the midst of that, we also see Druid question Ajax leadership. This is what I was mentioning with him, just being like, why can't I use my powers? Like, I can solve this. I can stop this. But their mission is really to not interfere with the growth and development of humans unless it involves a deviant. They have to stop them and do all that stuff. But it's in the 1500s when they defeat the last deviant, and this is where Ajax is like, well, now that we've beat them all, maybe it's best we all kind of split up. Go your separate ways here.
We need space. Yeah, because at first they think they have to like kill Thena to stop her from potentially killing somebody else with her mad weary, and then Gilgamesh is like, let me take her, let me watch over her. Like he's like a strong sort of more offensive brawler out of the group, him and his power set. And he's him and Athena have a very sweet relationship where he's sort of like the knight to her lady. Yeah, oh, it's not like overtly romantic, but there's a scene in like the first battle we get in the movie where like all the Eternals arrive on Earth in like ancient Mesopotamia to fight off a pile of deviants, and we see her like he offers her his hand for her to like step down from something. It's nice. It is old fashioned, but they are literally ancient. So
Yeah, indeed. I liked them a lot. They ended up going to the Australian outback, and that's where they've
yeah,
lived for a long, long time. Just a place where if Ina suddenly lost it or snapped or something, they wouldn't be near anyone,
Mhm.
and he would have the space to fight her and, or at least like try and get her calm
Yeah.
first. But if he did need to fight her, that he would have that space there. Um, yeah, I liked that their relationship a lot. This is another one of those things of like I would like to see more of it, and
Yes.
like because he has this whole like he's into baking and doing all this stuff, which is I was like, okay, that's where the pie when we
Yeah.
did our what does
He
eternal
just drops
smell
that
like on
pie.
the
It's
catalog? Yeah,
it's so sad
like,
when he drops the pie. Not to say that
but
I'm not also
you can
sad when
just see
Ajak dies, which is why he drops the pie. He's grief stricken to hear that Ajak has died. But I'm like, no, nobody wants to grab that out of his hand. No, nobody wants to get that pie.
Yeah.
It was probably good.
But like I'm curious to see more of their dynamic and
Mm-hmm.
like why did he get into cooking? Like why does he not have his own store? Has he competed in some like Food Network thing and
Man.
like we just don't know it yet? Like I want to know that stuff and we just don't get much of it. And unfortunately, Gilgamesh is also the first character to die
Yeah.
in this. So it was just like, I didn't get enough of him. Like, please give me
Right.
more.
Yeah. The time we spend with everyone is sufficient, but it does leave you wanting more.
Yeah. So around this time in the present day is when they're like, okay, well, we need to get the rest of the band back together.
Right.
So they first go get Kingo out in Bollywood. He has this whole movie empire. He's been playing a long line of like it's him the entire time, but he was also his great grandfather and his grandfather and his father, and he will then be his son one day.
Yes,
because he wants to be an actor and do all of this stuff. But
I appreciate his dedication.
Funny.
Yeah. He just loves his work. He loves his work so much that he will invent a new identity every 20-25 years to keep doing the same thing.
To be honest, is kind of cool. Like that's pretty neat. If you kind of read between the lines, you also know he's a big fan of the Avengers. He said he used to hang out with Thor when he was really young. It looks like he has Captain America's like original shield. It looks like maybe him and Fastos maybe was the inspiration for the like circular design of Captain America's shield and stuff like that. That's not confirmed exactly, but it's just like you read between the lines, you can see some of this stuff in here.
Yeah.
And we also get to meet his valet, Karen.
Karun?
And Karun, yeah, that might be it. It's Karun. And these two characters especially are the comedic relief of the film. And this is I think kind of one of my issues with the film. They tried to put the like standard Marvel formulaic comedy and stuff in this film, and I don't think it worked. That being said, if this was a more standard by the books Marvel formula movie, I think these would have hit so much more because I liked the comedy, but it just felt so out of place in the rest of the movie. It was just like I see you're trying to bridge the gap here as much as you can, but yeah, how did you feel about the more comedic aspects?
I like them in general, but I do agree. I don't think this movie has the strongest grasp on comedy drama balance. I don't think there were
Mhm.
like individual jokes where it's like that one doesn't work in and of itself, but just how they were placed in the larger tonal patchwork of the entire film maybe could have used some
Yeah,
fine tuning.
yeah, yeah. I mean, like, yeah, like all of the jokes by themselves worked. They are successful.
Mm,
It's just in the midst of this drama, this more grandiose drama. It's just like these don't really feel like they belong here.
mm.
So that might put some people off, but despite that, I really liked those characters.
Karun's
And
so valuable. He's so sincere, down for everything. I like that he constantly has a different camera. He's following Kingo filming a documentary
that was
about him.
maybe the funniest thing in the whole
Right,
film, just how many cameras he
getting one.
has.
He's so prepared. And again, I like that this is a world where if you are a cosmic or superpowered being, you don't have to keep that a secret from the people close to you. I like that Kingo was like,
Tell that to
originally he
Spider-Man.
did. Right. Kingo's like, before I told him, he did notice I wasn't aging and he did think I was a vampire. He was going to stake me, so I did have to reveal it to him. Karun knows. Karun's in the club.
That's great. Which is like, this was another aspect of the film that I did not expect, because I expected Dane Whitman to be that character, to be the like, I'm just a normal human, like I don't understand, like immortal gods, but like I've heard of Captain America. I didn't think he was real. Like right,
Hold
like
on. Captain
I'm just
not an urban
I know.
legend.
I know. I'm just saying as a joke. I'm just saying as a joke.
I do like that idea, though, that there's some just civilian this deep into the narrative of the MCU who's like, I don't think Hawkeye's a real guy. I think the internet made him up like Slender Man.
Comics have a pretty rich history of doing that. Of going the urban legend route, like Batman exists. Like I've heard stories, but I didn't think that was real. Or like in Marvel, especially, they often try to be like, oh, we're filming a movie, and they're just like, okay, sure. But yeah, they do all sorts of stuff to like explain it away. But in this, I was expecting his character to be like the equivalent of me, who's just like, I don't understand what's happening in this movie yet. Please explain it. And that was not the case. And then we get Karun, and he was amazing. He was so good.
Yeah, there isn't a continuous everyday human point of view character throughout the movie. There is the scene where Cersei explains everything to Dane Whitman, but then Dane Whitman is gone for the majority of the film. She calls him once and the call gets broken up, and then he shows up like 10 minutes from the end. And like, Karun is the civilian in the group, but he knows it. He gets it. He doesn't really ask a lot of questions. He just sits there quietly filming things.
Well, it's not that he doesn't question things. It's just he's like, yeah, he knows that like these immortals exist. I'm sure he knows, the Avengers exist, all that stuff. He's heard stories, he's seen it on TV, but it's just instead of being confused and scared of like, oh my God, that's a monster, like I'm 10 feet away, like I could die, he's sitting there like, wow, this is so cool. And he's like filming it all. Like, we're filming this documentary. It's going to be great. Like, he's just so wide-eyed and happy. And just like you said, he's down for anything. And he's always prepared. Just like you smash one camera and he has another one. It's like, how many of these do you have?
I need the edit of Karun's documentary. Like
him and Peter Parker making their own movies together would be amazing.
He's like, I've brought in an associate producer to help me edit this. This is Betty Brandt.
Yes.
I want it to look just like the Midvale High School, like student announcements. I love that. That's one of my favorite little things sprinkled throughout the MCU, or those videos that the students edit together, covered with watermarks.
Absolutely, it's great. But yeah, so they go to get Kingo and Karun. Then they go get Thena and Gilgamesh, who, like we mentioned, are out in the Australian outback. But this is where we get our next big like info exposition dump here, because Cersei finally communes with Arishem, and he kind of reveals the true purpose, the stuff that we got at the start of the film that was like the Eternals were from planet Olympia. They're these like immortal superhumans. They're meant to fight back the Deviants, and that's it. Like, that's all. That's actually not true. And they are there to get rid of the Deviants, but only because the Deviants were the first things that the Celestials sent, and then they started kind of acting on their own and hunting the humans and stuff like that. So they needed to send a second group of beings to then stop the Deviants, and that's what they are. But on top of that, they defeat the Deviants so that the human population can grow, or the population of the planet that they're on can grow to a certain point, that the seed of the little itty bitty celestial baby that's buried inside the center of the planet can hatch and grow into its full size, and in the process will destroy the planet. And so this is kind of the like cosmic morality thing of like, well, Earth is gonna die. Like, Earth is going to explode. All humans, all life on Earth will cease to exist. However, because we're doing this, we can save other planets, or that like we'll now have that much more technology to know how to help other planets down the road in other galaxies or different species. Like, it's one of those things of like, do we save the few or do we save the many? What happens here?
And
but
Celestials,
it is also,
I think, like
I was just saying, it is also this thing of like, but the Eternals have also been living on this planet for so long that they've kind of become attached to everything that's happened here.
We like it here.
It seems like this like glowing ball of light keeps choosing leaders that are willing to question that, of just like, I don't know if this is the right decision. So there might be something to that, but it's this one thing of, just like, what do we do? Do we save the thing that we can here and now, or do we sacrifice all of this for a potential greater future that we don't know exactly how it will turn out?
Because don't Celestials like make planets? Did I see that? They just like spin a planet out of nothing and like blow it out into the galactic, I
believe so,
void. And they're like, there's a planet, things will grow there. And like a Celestial could make however many planets. So like that's what they're weighing against. Okay, if we let this Celestial, it's named Tiamat, if we let it like crack open Earth like an egg and like go living out in the stars, it's gonna make like 20 new Earths. Is that worth the destruction of this Earth now, where we already live and we like these people?
Which, now that I think about it, could potentially add a new meaning to Doctor Strange in the Multiverse of Madness. That, if he's gonna make another universe, right, or another galaxy, like that would be a multiverse. here. Like that is potentially Marvel's way of explaining that. Who knows if that's actually what they're
A planet's
gonna do.
A galaxy's different than a universe.
Sure.
Or like a universe is different than a dimension.
Sure. I think we talked about this once on the Captain's Log of like, what is the difference between a universe and a dimension, or right?
Where does a realm fit in?
Yeah, whereas another dimension is like we live in 3D, right? I guess the fourth dimension is time, right? Is what they say, or yeah, something like that. But that's technically what another dimension should be. It is this like other sensory perception that we just don't have. So yeah, Ghosts. It could be something like the quantum realm of like we don't that would be another dimension, but like an alternate universe, yeah, could be a parallel Earth type of thing there. But I guess yeah, I'm thinking of it in the sense that like we have our planet and our solar system and our star system and our like that thing. But if we get enough celestials to then go over here and do their thing over there, like there's all that stuff over there. And so I guess that could be seen as, yeah, like that's a universe over there. This is a universe over here. That's a universe over there. But who knows? Who knows? So
we haven't yet mentioned that Arishem is very large. He's huge. This is one of the most successful. This is one of the most successful parts of the movie to me is how it works with scale. Like when Ajak and then when Cersei like goes up there to like commune with Arishem, they're like the size of a pore on his face. They're so small. He's so big. When Cersei goes inside the spaceship, she's in this massive cavernous room. At the end, when we see Tiamat begin to emerge from the earth, he gets these like fingertips out that are like, that's like a skyscraper. They're so big. I love it so much. I was trying to explain this to my friend Jack after we got out of the movies, that this is the perfect movie for where I am in life right now. We're getting back into the holidays. Like that day I was talking about how I get to have Thanksgiving with my family again. I get to have this big family Christmas party we didn't get to have last year. I get to see my family just like the Eternals do. Like they reach back out to each other. It's not under the best circumstances. It's Ajak is dead. And another Celestial is going to crack open Earth like an egg. So we got to figure out what to do about that. But it's like, oh, Kingo, hi! Like they have those dinners, they sit down, they hug, they catch up. It makes me feel like where I am in my life, getting to see like my cousins again, even if we're not 5,000 years old. And then being trapped in quarantine in my apartment, my like simple 2-bedroom apartment where I'm the biggest thing around and I'm taller than my roommate and there's nobody but the two of us here. So I'm not used to anything being taller than me. Like also seeing this movie where it's like, there's family togetherness and just big heckin' things.
Yeah.
It worked on me. It worked on me a lot. These were this was the sensory input my brain needed at this time.
That's cool. That's good. That's good. Yeah, so we're getting the band back together. They learn their true purpose. They're kind of dealing with that, and that's when they're like, hey, we need to go find Jeruig. They go find him on his compound. And the Deviants attack once more. This is the fight in which Gilgamesh dies. After the fight, this is where we also learn that Sprite is in love with Icarus. And this is where her character started to get interesting to me, of where like I finally start to understood, oh, like she's in love with this certain character. But she's in the body of a child. Like she can't have that relationship because it would look strange to a lot of people. it's not, it wouldn't really work out the way that she wants it to. And so she is this kind of tragic character of just like, I can entertain people and tell all these stories and light up the sky with fireworks and this and that and do all that stuff, but I can't have the one thing that I actually truly want, even though it's 5 feet back that way, right?
Yeah.
It just, and then, like we said, to see her kind of pair up with Cersei at the start, it was this this dynamic is starting to make a lot more sense and be a lot more tragic than what I was expecting. And it was just like, I like the direction that they're going with this. I would like to see more of it, because it does. When we first see Sprite, she has changed her appearance to an older woman. This is at, I believe it was Dane's birthday, right?
Yeah, they're all at a bar. Yeah,
and then there's this one guy that's like hitting on her, and she eventually reveals that she's not that. She is this small child. And she's just like, I don't fit in exactly.
Yeah. Which is the eternal quandary of becoming an immortal when you are not an adult. If you're just stuck appearing as 13 forever. Now she's as old as any of them, but because of her physical state, she's not on the same plane of experience. She can't have the same life experiences that they have.
Yeah. Yep. Mm-hmm. Indeed. To get the rest of the band back together, they finally go get Fastos, who has also kind of been living away from the rest of them. He has a mortal family. He has a boyfriend or a husband and a kid.
Yeah, I think they were married. Yeah.
And they are living together. And he has kind of wanted to stay away from the Eternals and not use his powers. Last we saw him use them was when the atomic bomb went off, and he was part of the team that helped create that. And so to see the destruction, he was just like, fuck no, I'm done. Not gonna help them out with anything else, because they'll just use it to kill each other and stuff like that, and that's not what he wants. So
I like that flashback. I liked just him and Ajax in the rubble. Like, we're just sort of dropped into it. We get a timestamp of like location and year, but we don't know where this is in the context of their lives, why the two of them there, what they were up to, where anybody else is. It's just this one brief emotional scene of him being distraught, and it's not clear if he was actively like one of the scientists in the group working on that, or if he's just thinking, 200 years ago I introduced this one thing that I know turned into this thing that turned into that turned into the bomb. Like, even if he wasn't hands-on with it, he's like, my influence, even if it led to helpful things, it led to this too, and I can't bear that. I don't want to play this game anymore of trying to nudge the humans into doing anything good because I tried it and it didn't work. I'm just going to settle down and get married and never do anything more than fix my kid's bike.
Yeah, I read somewhere, I forget which site, but apparently Chloe Zhao, who directed this film, had to fight to keep that scene in the movie, that they kept trying to take that scene out in the giraffes, but she specifically wanted that one in there for the emotional impact that would have. And I think it was a good choice on her part.
Yeah.
Because
it adds a lot to Fastos' character. It's
absolutely
extra time that we had to spend with Ajax. I feel like that helps her, since she's a character mostly illustrated through flashback. That helps add on to that. Also, their outfits were nice. I'd like to see everybody's outfits as we move through history. That's like a very minor part of that scene. The fact that I like Fastos' jacket, but I do.
Yep. his bow tie that he has on.
Yeah, he's stylish.
He is. Last but not least, once they get Fastos back on the team, they go and get their old ship back, and Mercari is inside holding the fort down, just with all sorts of knickknacks and historical items and famous paintings and stuff like that. And that's where they make a reference to God, the Necro Sword, I believe, is what they say. No, that's the one from
Excalibur.
Thor. Well, they said that the sword was actually Excalibur, but they asked if it was something else.
All black, the
first.
Necro Sword.
Yeah, it was probably that. And yeah, that's an Easter egg. I thought it was gonna be there's a sword that is kind of created and used as a very powerful weapon in the run of Thor that is inspiring the new Thor Love and Thunder. And I at first thought, like, oh, it might be a reference to that thing. There might be some kind of connection with there, but it was not.
There's a very important thing I realized we forgot to talk about. I have to mention this because this is one of my favorite details in the movie. Back at Druid's camp in the Amazon, they're sitting in some sort of like I don't know if it's like a chapel or like a community room or something, but like that's where the Eternals where the Eternals have gathered to talk to Druid, like, hey, we know we're not on like the best terms, but Ajax dead. We find out this stuff's going to like happen to Earth. Are you going to help us? And they're all sitting around having this tense conversation. And Thena's sitting back there, just very calmly petting a giant iguana on her lap. Like, we don't know where she got it. She just, like, presumably picked it up off the ground or it crawled into her lap. I don't know how iguanas behave. It's not focused on. It's just part of the mise-en-scene. She's just sitting there, as she is throughout the entire movie, just sort of serene, kind of checked out a little bit with this mad weary affecting her brain, just, like, calmly petting a large lizard.
There you go.
It's a great move. I like it.
Okay. Yeah, so they get their shit back. The band is finally all back together. But this is where we get the flashback where we finally get the villain revealed. This is where we see that Ajax has in fact not been killed by the Deviants, but in fact was murdered by Icarus. And this kind of revelation quickly comes to light, that he is the one behind it, that he killed her because she was having doubts and second thoughts and being like, maybe we should stop this celestial from appearing and maybe we should save Earth instead. But he, like we said, he is the more steadfast one of like, no, this is my purpose. I will let nothing stop me from achieving that. And so, yeah, he's like, well, I guess that means I need to murder Ajax. And in the revelation, this is where Sprite ends up siding with him, and they go off. I thought that scene was super sad that she like I don't think it ever truly explains her thoughts on their purpose, but it seemed more like she was solely doing it because she loved him and was just like, I will follow him no matter what. Not like, well, I don't agree with him, but I'm in love with him, so I'm gonna go with him anyways. It was just like, I will follow him because I love him, and that's it.
Maybe because she feels like she's been stuck for centuries. Maybe she thinks, I'd be sad to see Earth go, but I want a new beginning. I want a fresh start. I'd be perfectly happy to go away with Icarus to another planet in the galaxy and start anew there and see what happens.
Yeah, where she might have a different body or might have something. I think it's important to note that, yes, when the Celestial appears, not only will the Earth explode and all life cease to exist, but then the Eternals
Yes.
kind of restart their cycle. They are these kind of like indestructible bio-organic something beings that can basically be rebooted whenever the Celestials feel like it. So yeah, she goes off with him for the hope of this second chance. And then what I thought was really fascinating was what Kingo does.
Yes.
Here, who says, "Look, I actually agree with Icarus. I just wouldn't have done all of the stuff that he did. Like I'm more of a pacifist. Like I don't want to fight. I wouldn't have murdered someone. But yeah, I don't think we need to save Earth. Like we can do something else." All of that stuff, and he kind of, I mean, I think he still sticks around, right? Is that when?
No. I like what he says is that he's like, he leaves. He's like, I don't agree with what you're doing, but I respect your opinion. I will not stand in the way of you doing that. I just abstained from the situation. Me and Kroon are taking off. It was good seeing everybody. Maybe I'll see you later.
That's right. Yeah,
I thought that was a great
really
touch. Yeah, to like let him have that, to let maybe one of the more standout characters of this movie abstain from the like the most of the third act and be on not the wrong side, because this is such a gray, murky area that everybody's working in. But the fact that he's like, I choose not to cooperate with you. But I won't stand in your way either. Like, good luck, guys. I hope you survive. I hope I see you again. I think that's a really interesting perspective, that this is a movie where there are sides, but not always are the sides violent. Like, there's a lot of understanding going on. To go back to the scene in Druig's camp, I want to say that after the scene back in ancient Mexico where he leaves, he like mind controls all the soldiers to stop them fighting each other and he walks off. I was expecting whenever they encounter him again for him to be like, no, I left this behind. I don't agree with you. But like, and things are tense, but it's not like disastrous boiling point tense between most of these characters at any moment. There is a thoughtfulness there. There is also a sense of inevitability. Like, I knew I was never going to get rid of you forever. I knew I would see you again. Of course, that's who we are to each other. We will always cycle back around. Maybe I haven't seen you in 500 years, but I will see you again. We'll fall right back into the same patterns. And I recognize, like, you are my family. We understand each other better than anybody else in the world could. And even when we don't agree, I don't stand in your way and you don't stand in my way. Like, they just sort of leave each other be when they have disagreements, because they're like, we have all of Earth and infinite time. I don't need to stand here and fight with you about this. I'll go to another continent for a while. See you in some centuries. We'll see how we feel then.
Absolutely. Let's see. So yeah, so here we are kind of at the end of this movie where the remainder of the team is then getting ready to figure out like how, like, is there a way we can combine our powers or commune with Tiamat, who might be waking up, and Fastos has this idea to build a device which he ends up calling the Unimind, which I thought was a terrible name for the thing. It was one of those things to me that like stood out like a sore thumb. It was just like, what is this, Toy Story? Like, well,
it makes sense. Like when you glue those words together,
yes,
like
does.
I see how you got there. That's literal. That's accurate. It's not a wrong name, and they do kind of make fun of him for it. It's enough. It's enough for me.
It's the low-hanging fruit, right? It's the first idea.
It's not as cool of a term as mad weary. Yeah.
Yeah, I was expecting them to all do the like, ooh, the claw, the Unimind, which is all of the LGM in Toy Story we're all after, or Emperor Zurg was after the Unimind of the LGM, which anyways,
I know you were on such close basis with them. You just refer to them by nicknames, initials only.
That's what they're called, the little green men, the LGM.
They are, but I've never heard anyone just immediately abbreviate it without introducing the full term first. It's like you guys go
Get
way
on your
back.
Toy Story lore.
I am on my Toy Story lore.
So he makes this device that will essentially connect the remainder of the Eternals to kind of meld their minds and essentially allow them to communicate with Tiamat, or to hopefully do that, to influence him, to ask him like, hey, can you like stay inside the Earth and like not break out or something?
Please go back to sleep. Go back to sleep, Tiamat. They're thinking that if they combine their powers, they can like supercharge one of their powers. And the original plan is Droig's going to mind control him. He's just going to do a mantis and get Tiamat to go back to sleep. And then another part of the movie is that Cersei's got these elemental controlling powers, and she can turn wood to stone, she can turn wood to metal, she can turn wood to water. I really like her trying to explain this in the documentary, and and Kingo's like, okay, you're boring. You don't have any screen presence. I'm gonna move on to someone else.
Yep.
And they're like, now that you can do that, and like that's set up, but then in the fight at Droog's camp in the Amazon, she does turn a deviant into a tree. And she's like, I didn't know I could do that to living things. I thought I could only do it to like inanimate objects and materials. So they changed the plan from put Tiamat to sleep to Cersei, what if you turned him into a statue? How's that gonna go?
Yeah. And so that's there is a big fight. They're all fighting off Icarus and these like new deviants that have appeared there. Thena almost gets her life force sapped away, but slices the guy up. And yeah, they end up like as Tiamat is hatching, they freeze him to like stop him and hold him in place, and then when he's held in place, this is where Cersei then turns him to stone. So now it's a volcano. I don't remember where the volcano is located.
I think they said it's in the Indian Ocean.
In the Indian
I don't
Ocean.
know exactly where. I need a revised MCU world map, but yes. Now, as a permanent fixture on Earth in the MCU, there's just part of a head and like one hand, giant like marble hand sticking out of the ocean. I'm so happy they did this. I love that this is
his face.
Yeah.
Like sticking out.
I love that this is the change that, among many other ones that it leaves on the MCU, I like that this is part of it. Like now we're going to get characters who are like, oh, Scott's got Cassie for the weekend. You know, her mom and her stepdad are going on a cruise. They're going to go see the big hand.
Well, here's the thing, Melissa. The idea of having a celestial kind of on Earth that is then like turned into stone or who knows what is in the comics, and in the current run of the Avengers, that's where Avengers headquarters is located. They find this celestial and they hollow it out, and they like they basically build a building inside of it. And that is where the Avengers is. That's where their headquarters
looking out from inside
is located.
Skull.
So it really could be that Scott has Cassie for the weekend and they go to Avengers headquarters inside the head. Right? Or inside the giant middle finger.
Right. Who will take control of this? I just want it to be like, I don't know how old Spider-Man is, if he's going to graduate coming up in a few weeks in No Way Home. I'd love to be like, class trip, we went to DC, we went to Europe, now we're going to Big Hand. Like the idea of it being a headquarters, like maybe Doom's like, I want to get out of Latveria for a bit. Take me to Big Hand.
Yeah.
Who will move into Big Hand? Who takes control of Big Hand?
Who knows?
This is my new favorite part.
But yeah,
I could watch the entire like Big Hand series on Disney Plus.
I'm hoping
new episode every week about
direction.
what you can do there. Yeah.
I'm hoping that's the direction that they go in with that, is that like this is then somehow like repurposed into like this is the new Avengers headquarters or something like that, or this is now the Galactic Embassy for who knows what the I don't know. But
and who knows if this is like I don't know the state of Tiamat before he emerged from the earth, if he had like tangible being in there. Like if you've just added literal tons and tons of like marble to like one part of the earth, does that like throw anything off ecologically?
Emerged,
yeah. Now that the world weighs a lot more in one place, does that do anything? Are we off its axis? Are we just gonna, amid everything else going on, are we just gonna get like, well, we tilted a little bit and now a comet's gonna get us? It's not connected to anything. It's not like from some alien race or weapon. It's just, a comet.
Interesting. Yeah.
Do you think this is anything
to know?
I'd have to double check what specific ocean it was that was mentioned. But the scene did remind me of the bit in Endgame where Natasha's having the briefing with all the other surviving superheroes. And she's like, there's an earthquake under the ocean. Okoye, it's closest to you. What are you going to do? And she's like, it's an earthquake under the ocean. What am I supposed to do? We handle it by not handling it.
I mean, yeah, it could have been little baby Tiamat kicking inside the womb. Who knows? Because I think for a while we were speculating that was Atlantis or wherever.
Could be both. Maybe this is how we get Namor. He just like crawls out of the sea. Like I used to live under there. Like now there's like a big stone hand like goes through my castle. I'm Prince Namor. I'm gonna walk on land and steal your ladies.
Exactly. Yeah, so that's pretty much how it ends. I think the final thing is that as a result of all of this, upon seeing, I don't want to say how wrong he was, but just all of the hurt and pain that he's caused because of being so steadfast and just because of him being so confused and now maybe having second thoughts or just the fact that he failed in his mission.
Yeah.
Icarus, like his name implies, flies into the sun. But
yeah.
I guess it's a mystery. We know that they can die if the Eternals were going to die when the Celestial emerged. But I don't know if flying into the sun would kill him.
I feel like it would.
I think that's the implication. But it is also one of those things that could go either way.
If they needed Icarus back for some reason, I guess they could be like, he walked straight through. He came out the other side. Okay. But yeah, it's a sad scene. He's like, I'm going to fly into the sun. This is my death. I go to my death in the sun. But I think it's an interesting choice that we have the villain, as it were, of this story who has made... whose perspective, even if you don't agree with, you can understand, you can kind of see where he's coming from, how he thinks he is doing the right thing. And it is a right thing. It is a viable option that the group at large at least considers for a little bit. And at the end, he regrets what he's done, the path that he's taken. And he takes punishment upon himself. It is very sad, but I think it's an interesting choice that was included like the personal emotional aftermath of the villain when the plan doesn't work.
Yeah. Yeah. It's, I felt like his death was a little on the nose. I would have maybe liked to see something else, but I think it also kind of lends to this like grand scale that I've been mentioning. Like this story feels archetypal or
Yeah.
something like
Yes.
that. And it's like, well, his name is Icarus. Like what that's the only thing that he could have. That he flies into the sun. Like that's what's supposed to happen. So I think not having that is I felt like would have felt equally just as like, well, why is his name Icarus then? Like,
Yeah, if he chose any other way, any other method of his demise, yeah, people would have been asking like, he can fly, can he? Can he fly real high? Can he fly up to sun? Can he get up there? Thematically, he should do that.
exactly. So yeah, so that is kind of where the main section of the movie ends off. This is where there is one moment where we see them all back at Phastos's house. There's again one
No,
last
they're
good
all. I thought they all
moment.
went to visit Ajax Ranch in South Dakota. Like it's a family trip there. Everybody's
is that
there.
where
Yeah.
they are then? Okay,
Yeah.
my mistake. But yeah, they're all there for a bit, and then the group splits up again because they're just like, well, we did our thing, we saved the Earth. I guess we'll just you can
Mm-hmm.
go back to your family, and you can go over here, and you can go over there. And Sprite, who is now super sad about Icarus flying off,
Mm-hmm.
she asks to be changed into a human.
No, Cersei offers this to her after the
Okay.
Unimind. After she gets enough power to turn Tiamat to stone, she goes to Sprite and says, "I still have some power left in me. If you want, I can change your form. I can make you mortal. Do you
Yeah.
understand the implications of that? And is that what you want?" And that's what she takes. Yeah, which is
As yes.
I'm happy that happened because I was watching this movie
Yeah.
thinking, oh, if Sprite's supposed to be immortal and stuck like this forever, this performer is going to age out of the role, and then I won't get to see Sprite pop up anymore, except for maybe like one or two more times when she still looks young enough. So I'm happy that they made her mortal just so that I have Sprite's an option on the table for as long as they want to have Sprite around. She can pop up from time to time, and I like that.
Yep. It's good for her. And then she enrolls in school and has to do like summer reading and homework, and she already hates it.
They're like,
But
yeah, if you
she's also excited though, just like, I hate it, but I'm excited. Like, I've not had this experience where like this stuff will actually matter for me now. So
yeah,
good for her. Good for her with that. But then, Melissa, I think that's about all that we can say for that. That the group splits up. Half of them are on the ship. Half of them are kind of out and about.
Here's the arrangement. Okay, Sprite goes to school. And then it's well, she's there with Cersei and Kingo. Kingo comes back after the battle. He like reconvenes with his friends. No hard feelings. I like that like everybody respected each other's choices in regards to that final battle, whether they participated or avoided it. There's no change in anybody's feelings about Kingo, which I appreciate. Yeah, and they get sucked up into space. It's those three, right? I'd want to make sure like I've got these camps of characters clearly laid out.
Yeah, so it's on the ship. I'll start with that. On the ship, we have Thena, Makari, and Druig. Phastos goes back to his family. Sprite lives as a human, and Kingo goes back to his Bollywood empire. But Cersei rejoins Dane,
Okay. Yes.
And blah 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 blah. Let's see. Okay, yes, and then this is where Arishem appears out, like big sky, big head in front of the planet.
Yeah.
It looks like
Seemingly
my
where
head to
everyone
my
can see.
phone. Yeah,
Right.
he's
So
huge.
like all these. Right, an entire hemisphere is just looking at this big red guy in the sky.
Yeah, and he pulls up. I guess he pulls up Cersei and
Yes.
Kingo and Fastos.
Oh, okay.
Those
yes.
would be the remaining ones, right? The ones who like went back
I think so.
to the Earth, yeah. And these guys, like he pulls them up. Let's see, summons Cersei, Kingo, and Fastos. Yes, he tells them that he knows that they failed his plan for the emergence of this new celestial, but he's choosing to spare them for now. And
yeah,
basically is like, hey, in a few years, we're going to come back and we're going to judge the Earth here. So get ready.
He's like, I'm going to search all of your memories for everything about humankind. Based on your memories, I will judge Earth. Thumbs up or thumbs down. Whenever I'm done with this, I'm going to come back, and there's going to be a reckoning, maybe.
Indeed. So that is like the main part of that first end credit scene, but we get to see a little bit more about Dane Whitman. So Melissa,
yes,
what did you think about Dane Whitman here?
Here,
he's in the movie.
He's a guy. He seems nice. Like we don't spend a lot of time with him.
Yeah. Are you familiar with his character at all, or who he?
I was told that he's supposed to be a guy called the Black Knight who has like an Excalibur sword, and I don't know what he really does. I know that he's in the Midnight Suns, which I think is the important part here.
So yeah, he's a character named the Black Knight, but the title of the Black Knight is one that has been taken up by multiple people throughout the years, including his uncle, which may have been the one that Cersei was like, hey, go make amends with your.
It wouldn't be another uncle.
There. Who knows?
He's got so many uncles.
Yeah, the sword that he has has a curse on it, and it has a bloodlust that if he holds this sword, he needs to basically go kill people, and that is why his uncle was potentially a bad guy in this thing. Again, that's more from the comics. We don't know exactly how it'll play out in the movies here, but yeah, he in that scene mentions that his family history is kind of complicated, actually, and we don't really know what that means exactly. But in the comics, the Black Knight at one point was a member of the Avengers.
Okay.
Yes, he has connections to Blade, and I guess in that sense, like the Midnight Suns. They're just he has connections to the whole the more like supernatural side of the Marvel universe.
Fun.
So with Blade coming down the road, this new Morbius movie, which may be our like big introduction to vampires in the MCU. Maybe if it's in the MCU, that's still kind of unclear exactly.
Yeah.
It seems like we're getting like we're stepping closer into that corner of the MCU too. Like we got these like giant cosmic beings like up above here, but then the like seedy like let's go kill some vampires, right? So I think it's going to be really interesting to see what they do with him. He
that wasn't
really there in much of the film.
No, yeah, I had heard like, oh, this is Dane Whitman. He's the Black Knight. This is another like superhero that the MCU is introducing. And I was watching the movie like, he's really not in this. Are they playing a real long game with the Black Knight? But he does get this post-credit scene where like, so after his girlfriend gets sucked up into the sky by a big god,
post-credit scene
he goes to his office and he's like, okay, time for me to get my like shiny, oily sword that I've been scared to touch. And it's him getting psyched up to
girlfriend. Imagine him like shaking the sword at Harrison.
Right.
Give her back.
The princess is with another celestial. He's in his office trying to get up the courage to touch his oily sword. And then from off camera, you hear a voice saying, like, are you sure you want to do that, Mr. Whitman? I forget what the exact line is. Isn't that important? And like, I had no idea who this was. Turns out it is Mahershala Ali as Blade. I think I've only like seen Mahershala Ali. I don't know if I have watched him perform. I'm not sure if I've heard his voice before. I think I've just seen the pictures of him wearing the hat that says Blade on it. I'm sure I will see him in things. I'm getting there. So I didn't recognize his voice, and that was a fun surprise to find out that's who it was at the end of the day.
That's the thing, is that voice came on and I was sitting there and I heard people going like, oh shit, like, oh my God. And I was just like, I don't know who that is. Like, I don't know what the voice is there.
Could not tell.
I heard some people in the theater being like, I think that was Nick Fury. And I was just like,
it's kind of a Nick Fury intonation. Yeah. It's reminiscent of Fury.
I didn't get that at all. Like, that didn't remind me of him at all, because I think that also might be just like Samuel L. Jackson's voice is so iconic, right? That it is like, oh yeah, that obviously was not, but I guess it might not be as iconic as it is to me, like for other people, because I like when they said that, I was like, yeah, no, that's not him.
Maybe people are just like, oh, he's the post-credit scene guy. If I'm not sure who that is, I guess it's Nick Fury. This seems like that's his role in this franchise. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. Which I mean,
Aisha's looking at that golden container. We don't see who's in there. It's actually Nick Fury. It's not Adam Warlock at all. Anytime you weren't sure who somebody was, Nick Fury.
Exactly. But yeah, I had to look it up afterwards, and it was like, no, that's Mahershala. Like, that was Blade. So I'm if that sword does have a like this bloodlust curse, I'm wondering if Blade is gonna like try and recruit him on like, hey, I know some things you can kill. You want to help me with all of that stuff here? So they might be vampire hunters.
Is Dane Whitman the Seymour of this universe, and is the sword like the Audrey 2? Like, he has to just keep giving it blood?
I guess so. That's the thing. Like, I know more about the Black Knight than I know about the Eternals. But I also don't know anything about the Black Knight. Like,
right. All I know are these guys' names, and that's it.
Yeah. Like, so I'm excited to see if like they are gonna introduce him in more of the supernatural side of things, and maybe we get a Midnight Suns show or movie or something. Or if they're gonna go more of the Avengers route with him, because he has a history of being on the Avengers team. We'll see. We don't know, but we've explained the whole plot. So, final thoughts on that? Do you have
we didn't explain the whole plot
going forward? Well, we've got that's the second end credits, and then it went to black and was like the Eternals will return.
They will return. But there's also the one where it's Thena and Druig and Makari on the ship, and they're like, here we are, we're going to go out in space and find, like, if there's more of us. And then suddenly the Harry Styles cameo appears, which I'd heard rumors that was going to happen in this movie. And my initial thought was, oh, what if this is like now that Sprite is a human and she goes to school? I've no idea. Right. Or like he's like a boy at her school, because I don't know how old Harry Styles is. He's just a young man. So maybe he's also at like the high school Sprite goes to. And she's like, oh boy, now that I'm mortal, I can have a boyfriend like that one. And then there it is, cameo by famous handsome pop singer Harry Styles. And he just winks at the camera. No, he's playing a real character. He's playing Eros, Thanos' brother.
Yeah.
He just appears. He just warps right onto there. Him and Pip. Patton Oswalt here. Hearing voice. Happy to hear him. That's a voice you always recognize.
Yes, I recognized his voice right away. It's also weird for me to hear his voice in that, because he plays a character in Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. He's MODOK. No, he's an agent of he's I know that. MODOK in that cartoon, but he plays an agent of S.H.I.E.L.D. that like has like he's one of like 12 like an octuplet, who knows what, like
wow.
And they're all agents of S.H.I.E.L.D.
Wow, I like that.
Yeah, and they like one of them dies, and then they meet the next one, and they're just like, "Wait, we thought you died. Like, what? So what happened?" Yeah,
he's just like the Nurse Joy of Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D.
Yes, yeah, exactly.
I didn't know this was part of it.
Exactly, yeah. But then Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. isn't really in canon anymore,
and this MODOK cartoon isn't either. But I like that they keep finding a place for him.
He's a big nerd. He's
right.
He's a big nerd.
He's got such a distinctive voice. He is such a strong voice actor. Yeah, I'm happy anytime he pops up. And I did see like a comparison photo, and Harry Styles does look quite a bit like one of the drawings of Eros. So I think that is solid casting on that front. He does look like he should be in that role. He should be an Eros.
Yeah. What I think is interesting about this is what the characters are talking about in this moment there, right? That they've learned that there are other groups of Eternals on other planets that they could have also maybe defied the Celestials, and that Eros appearing seems to imply that he has a plan to fight against the Celestials, or he's starting to build a team to come up with a plan, or something like that. It's unclear.
I need as many people as can stand on each other's shoulders and be as tall as one of them, and then I'm gonna poke him in the eye. It's my plan. Exactly. Do you have 1,000 friends we can call?
I bet you the Celestials haven't even watched the Three Stooges. We can pull this one on them.
Oh my God.
Poke him in the eyes.
But he's got like 6 eyes. You gotta get. This is how they bring in Reed Richards. He can morph his body, poke a Celestial in every one of its eye holes at once.
So let me ask you this, because I have a theory now, and this is one of my like wild speculation things here. So
okay, I like those.
Now that we have basically talked about the whole thing, do you have like final thoughts or like wilder theories going forward, what you think might happen?
One element we didn't touch on, I want to mention. I like the relationship between Druig and Makari a lot. I like how many variants of romance we got in this movie. Yeah. We have the overt, actual sex scene. I mean, PG-13 sex scene where like they're shirtless and on top of each other, and you think you maybe see a thrust.
I felt like the one that was in Iron Man was just as bad.
Oh, it's so shadowy though, and it's comedic. It's silly.
It's farther away. This one is closer serious. Up. It is more sensual. This is a prestige sex scene. As much of a sex scene as you can have in a PG-13 major blockbuster for fans of all ages. Like, you've got that overt romance. You've got whatever's going on between Gilgamesh and Athena, where they're just like, I don't know if this is romance, but he is committed to her. She is his responsibility. They are lifelong companions.
And you've got Droog and Makari who were like super flirty with each other. And at the end, when like all the Eternals that fought in that final battle, like meet up with each other, like, oh, you're here, you're alive, let's, a group hug or whatever. They like go to each other and like, you think they're going to kiss, but they just like press their foreheads together. It's really great. I like how many types of romances and pseudo romances that we got to fit into this. I'm excited to see those two again. They were one of my favorite dynamics we got in the movie. And again, like I said earlier, I like Druig a lot, I think, just because he was not what I expected. He's not the best guy, but coming into this expecting him to be the capital V villain, I was pleasantly surprised at many turns, even if he is a guy with problems.
I agree.
And I like that this is something he got to have, is this girl that he loves in whatever way that he loves her, and she loves him back. Even if they haven't seen each other in centuries, they step right back into that same old dynamic, and it's cute.
Indeed.
I don't have theories. I just have things that are cute.
Okay, that's fine. That works for me. I thought this film was beautifully shot. I loved how this was mainly shot on location, rather than like all of the big green screen that we see. I really feel like that helped out a ton just to make it look realistic and just make it beautiful. Like this was a stunning film. I think this is. It's PG-13, so kids can go see it, or like younger teens, but I don't know if they're really gonna have fun. Like I don't think this is a kids movie. Like I don't see
like
many like action figures and stuff. Yeah, I mean there are some big fights, but I feel like this is, of all the Marvel movies, this is the one that younger kids might find more boring, because it really does focus on the drama rather than the like comedy and the guns and explosions and powers, and it is more about the like moral conundrums and drama that is there, which I enjoyed. I felt like this was a more mature movie than what we've gotten so far in the MCU, so
this is
interesting.
Yeah, we've had a lot of milk chocolate films. This was a dark chocolate film. Yes. Like 65% cacao in this.
Yeah. Dark chocolate film. I like it.
And like some kids like dark chocolate, So
sure.
it'll appeal to some people. Maybe this will be like the first serious adult film that like a 9-year-old sees, and this gets them into more stuff on that level as like a basic entry point.
Exactly. Yeah, I'm excited to see where this goes. They said the Eternals will return. I don't think this movie is going to get a sequel. I don't think we're gonna get Eternals 2. I think these characters will still be around in whatever other movies or shows or stuff like that. But yeah, I don't think this film needs a sequel either. Like I like that is also kind of what fascinates me about this film. Like this was a good introduction to those characters. I'm excited to see more of them, but I don't want a sequel per se. I just want to see how this impacts the MCU going forward. Which is I think really exciting. But here's my theory, Melissa.
Okay.
If we take this idea that Celestials like impregnate is a weird word, but like implant these planets with their seed, right? So that a young itty bitty baby Celestial can one day be born, which is oddly similar to what Ego was doing, right? When he was planting his seed out on all of these things.
He's one of them.
Indeed.
Except he looks like a Kurt Russell instead of a big space statue.
Yeah, well, I mean, like that might be a thing. Like maybe he could have changed into like his shape was not the like big six-eyed thing, but his shape was just a big ball, right? Because he's
Right, yeah,
Ego, the
the
living
living
planet.
Yeah.
But my theory is, what if Galactus, instead of feeding on the life force of actual planets, is actually trying to eat the seeds of these celestials? And in doing so, also ends up just eating the whole
Yeah.
planet, right? Because it's like, how many licks does it take to get to the center of a Tootsie Pop, right?
Crunch.
And I feel like that would be a good introduction for Galactus, if not the Fantastic Four down the road. That, hey, there's this like half birthed celestial on this planet, and Galactus is like, my favorite kind, dark chocolate. Dark chocolate planet, here we go. And yeah, like there might be something with that, but that's just my like super speculation. There's no we have nothing.
That's a good jumping off point. This could lead us to a Galactus.
Could be interesting. Yeah,
we'll get to, I don't know when we'll get to Galactus, because I feel like we got Kang. We've had our Kang appetizer. We've yet to hit the Kang entree. I feel like Doom's got to be a priority. I feel like we'd see Doom ahead of Galactus. But they're,
sure,
we're planting seeds of Galactus. We saw Ultravision just straight chomp up a galaxy in What If, which feels like a spiritual nod to Galactus.
Yep. Indeed. So there you go. That's my thoughts on Eternals.
Eternal one.
Yeah, it's growing on me, but it's not my favorite. It's not gonna. Excuse me. It's not gonna like rank high up on my list of favorite Marvel movies or stuff like that. It has its problems, but it's also like it's so interesting because of the risks that it took.
Yeah.
So good stuff. I say go watch it. Go check it out.
Yes. Yeah. Even if it isn't super well balanced, I like how nuanced it is. I like that it is comfortable being gray and like having characters aware that they are in a gray zone and how they deal with that interpersonally and the disagreements and allowances they give each other. I think it's a great movie for the characters. I like them a lot. I am curious to see how this movie's legacy continues, both within like the lore of the MCU, like what are the after effects going to be now that we've got these Eternals? The Earth had a celestial inside of it. Now we've got that big hand in the Indian Ocean, etc., etc. But also like how opinion of this movie continues to evolve is maybe we get a couple years out and the MCU continues to try new things and try different tones and drop us into new places.
Yeah.
One thing that's been exciting to me is that this year, like we had Shang-Chi and Eternals, both of which are movies that are pretty much all new stuff, or a lot, mainly new stuff, not a lot of familiar things there, where there wasn't a ton of lead up to them. And I also wasn't sure where exactly they would be the go next. What is this the jumping off point for? What is this a step? I can see where this has been a stepping stone from something. Where will it be a stepping stone to something? Where are we going to see any of these people next? When's the next time we're seeing anybody?
How does Kang factor into the Celestials and this like weird tentacle monster thing theme that we keep seeing in like Shang-Chi and What If and all this stuff?
Right.
Like, what's going on here? There's still a lot of mystery of just what's next.
Yeah, and they can do it in the serious mythological mystery way, or I just love nods now about there's a big hand in the Indian Ocean, people will take trips to see the hand, or we'll just get somebody mentioning like, I love the Kingo franchise of films. I love Phantom Gun, which is one of the posters hanging up in his private jet. It looks like a James Bond. It's called Phantom Gun. You need to know what Phantom Gun is.
Good stuff.
I just
Good
like
stuff.
that these are now sprinkled as like fun, like jokes that we've got to play with now. It added that much onto the lore also.
Yep. Indeed. I had a blast, but I say let's wrap this up here. Because we have been going for almost 2 hours on
it's a deep movie. It's
really
a chunky one.
Chunky one indeed. But with that, Melissa, where can the people find you on the internet?
You can find me on Twitter and Instagram at Wilkywit. That's WILKYWIT. And listen to my other podcast, Saturday Morning Obscurities, a show where me and my brother Jams talk about weird old kids shows you feel like only you remember. Our last episode that came out is on Sonic Underground.
Okay, there you
which
go.
Is it's just a cartoon series where Sonic the Hedgehog is a lost prince who plays in a rock band.
There you go, Sonic fans. Eat your heart out. If you guys want to stay up to date with me, I am at Yo Kyle Springer on Twitter. And if you guys want to follow all of the stuff that we do here at the Whatnauts, we are at the Whatnauts on Twitter. So please go like, share, and subscribe. That would help us out a ton. Please go spread the word. That would mean a lot to us here. And yeah, I believe that wraps us up for our spoiler cast for Marvel's Eternals. We hope you guys enjoyed it. And we will see you all next week, I believe, because Hawkeye is starting on Disney Plus. They are releasing episodes 1 and 2 this next week. So we will have those to talk about. And for the next few weeks here, we'll have episodes of Hawkeye to talk about. It's going to be interesting. I think I might actually go see my parents for the first time in like 2 years because of the pandemic stuff. So I'm depending on when it wraps up, I might be podcasting from out in Wyoming where my parents are. So we'll see. We'll see what happens.
Yeah, we
there.
got Spider-Man to plan around too.
That too, and I want to talk about Matrix, all of that stuff. I don't remember how into all of that stuff you are, but
none.
I would love to talk about Matrix.
Maybe I'll see. I've seen non-Matrix. Maybe I'll see this one first, having seen none of the previous ones. I want to see how I do. This is a franchise that I've been wanting to approach by trying to take it backwards. I want to do that with one franchise and see what that does
Melissa.
to me.
What have I done?
I did this to myself.
I know. Oh well. But yeah. So be on the lookout for some more stuff down the road here as we head into December and in the end of the year. It'd be good. Should be a lot of fun. But we will see you all next time. Bye.
Bye.